I want to welcome in my co-host as well, Anthony Bellino, down at the Henry Ford Health System Update Desk. Anthony, how was your Halloween last night?
My Halloween was quiet, Tori, because I knew that we had to wake up early and be here. So my Halloween was great. I dressed up, I was going to say as a Michigan fan, but we all know how that went. So we'll bypass that. But yes, happy Halloween to you as well.
Well, that was a pretty spooky Halloween costume, Anthony.
It was terrifying, actually. I'm living in a state of fear.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Anthony. We are excited to chat a little bit about this Lions game today. Like we said, going to have some fans in the stand. The players arrived earlier this morning. Let's take a look at them heading into the stadium a little earlier today. There's a look at TJ Hawkinson wearing his tie-dye here on this morning after Halloween. I'm sure these guys are happy to be back home. They haven't been here in so long. They had the bye week and then 2 games straight on the road, and now they are finally back at Ford Field and maybe have a little bit of a home field advantage today because they do have their friends and family in the stands.
Yeah, very exciting time for the players. And we knew this looking at the schedule, that there was going to be this big break in the schedule in which the guys were going to go away, and we were going to see them for a while. But now we're lucky, as you mentioned, they have the friends and family that are in the stands. That'll be exciting for them to at least be able to play in front of somebody. I'm excited just to have some life in the building and to know that there will be people in the stands. So, baby steps, progress. We got to, crawl before you walk before you run. But, a few people, that's a good start.
I would agree. It definitely feels like a different atmosphere, a little different vibe in here this morning. So we're excited to see those stands start to fill in with those friends and family of players. Let's take a look at the inactives presented by Henry Ford Health System. This is a very important part of game day, taking a look at who will not be playing on both sides of the ball. For the Colts, no big names stand out there. All their guys who were questionable that were, kind of starters in this game look like they're going to play. Let's turn to the Lions inactives now. And the story here is that Taylor Decker is not inactive. He was questionable on Friday, missed that Friday practice. A lot of times when guys miss a Friday practice, they're not able to play, but he will be playing today, and that's going to be big, Anthony, against a very, very good Colts defensive line.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts defensively have been statistically one of the best, if not the best, in just about every category across the board. So knowing that Taylor Decker is going to be there to anchor the blind side of Matthew Stafford, because Indianapolis is going to want to bring pressure. Not seeing Decker's name on there is a huge sigh of relief, although we can still kind of circle Quintez Cephas and Desmond Trufant, 2 names that have been on that list, week after week, and hopefully we'll be able to get both of those guys back on the field as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the note on Desmond Trufant is certainly important. The Lions had him get injured in that first game of the season. He's kind of been in and out a little bit, but he's been out more than he's been in. Unfortunately, this week is another week where he is out, but those 2 rookie cornerbacks the rookie in Jeff Okudah and then Amani Oruwariye in his second year, those guys have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders today as they face Phillip Rivers and that Colts offense. Let's take a look now around the league with our BetMGM out-of-town preview. Lots of great games. We saw the Atlanta Falcons, who the Lions played last week, play on Thursday night. Good for them. They got the victory over the Carolina Panthers. Felt a little bit bad for them after the struggle that they had with Todd Gurley accidentally scoring. So good for them. They got the win as long as it wasn't against the Lions. Well, one I've got my eye on today is the Vikings in Green Bay. That's a big game for the NFC North.
Huge game for our divisional opponents. And then, if you're looking on social media right now, it is windy in Green Bay. And both teams are going to have to find a way to run the football. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers and company can do. I think the game in the 1 o'clock window and maybe the game of the weekend is going to be between Baltimore and Pittsburgh, an AFC North slug match. Those 2 teams have been playing great football, and you look at the rivalry between those 2 over the last 24 matchups, it's almost straight down the middle in inequality. So that one's going to be a really, really good game. And then, of course, at the 4:25 mark, Drew Brees and the Saints in Chicago taking on Nick Foles and the Bears. That one's an important one for us here in the NFC North as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at, the Seahawks taking on the 49ers there. That's another game to watch. Plenty of good football on today as we transition to the month of November. Maybe some of you are playing your Christmas music already. I don't know what kind of decisions you're making out here in 2020, but it is a good day to be watching some football, and we are certainly excited about it. Another thing that we're excited to do is to honor our military today at our game. A lot has changed this year, but the Lions' commitment to honoring our military has not changed. Earlier this month, we had a chance to sit down with our Kroger hometown hero of today's game, Eric Moats, and hear his inspiring story of service and advocacy. Take a look. I'm sitting down with our Kroger hometown hero for this week, Eric Moats. You are the founder of the Fiddler's Green Foundation. Thank you so much for being our hometown hero this week. It's our honor to have you.
Oh, thank you. This is crazy.
Well, it's so exciting to have you here. First of all, before we get into talking about your foundation, help us get to know you and your time in the service.
I'm a Navy Chief Petty Officer in the Navy, a hospital corpsman. Spent a majority of my time with Marines, Marine Division, Infantry. Did 5 combat tours, 5 to Iraq, 7 combat tours, 5 to Iraq, boots on the ground in Libya, and I was blown up in Afghanistan.
Wow. So what inspired you from your time in the military to start the foundation that you did?
After I got out of the military, medically, I'm a single dad. I had high aspirations, suffered from PTSD. I did 3 years of therapy, got my degree in community development. It was 2016. It was a bad year for my troops. I was getting a lot of calls from mothers, sisters. It was the call from my goddaughter telling me that my brother in arms that pulled me out of the wreck committed suicide. Somebody had to take a stand, and I turned around and spent a lot of my time pulling my own money to make something happen. And there has to be a home. There has to be a way of getting the net out there, grabbing the veterans that serve this country, and giving them some kind of hope.
So Fiddler's Green Foundation is aimed at homeless veterans and helping them get back on their feet. What does it mean to see these guys get back on their feet after the experiences that you went through and some of the experiences you watched your brothers go through and their families?
It's everything. You know, we all took an oath to defend, you know, the Constitution of the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic. And to see that these guys can stand tall, walk forward, if they venture out on their own and, you know, we got them standing up, then that's a success. You know, we did something. We followed through with our promises all the way through as a brother. You know, I got your 6. It doesn't matter race, gender, whatever, we're watching after each other. That's a brotherhood.
What do you want to change for veterans when they leave the service through the work that you are doing?
I want to be that beacon of hope. I want them to know that there is someplace out there that you can go to, and we'll do the footwork for you. You've earned it. You know, the reason I started the foundation was we're there to help you have a place over your head. You don't have to worry about the utilities. We got that for you. You want to watch TV? We're covering the cable. You know, let's focus on you, your well-being, be it mental, be it physical, be it whatever. That's what I wanted to do.
I love that. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we're honored to have you as our Kroger hometown hero.
Thank you.
We want to thank Eric again for his service, and we look forward to having him back at the stadium soon. You can nominate your hometown heroes today at DetroitLions.com/hometown heroes. We sure miss welcoming our hometown heroes here at Ford Field, and we also miss welcoming our Lions legends. This week is the Lions homecoming week, and unfortunately all the Lions couldn't fly into Detroit and have a great reunion weekend, but the Lions did find a way to celebrate anyways. Take a look. In a normal year, Lions legends would gather in Detroit during homecoming week to reminisce and bond over their days playing for the Honolulu Blue and Silver. Even though things looked a lot different this year, 2020 didn't stop the festivities. The Lions went virtual for homecoming, hosting a series of events for legends of every decade. They hopped on video conferences to trade stories of their days in Detroit.
I was really just excited to be around like some of the older guys, some of the younger guys, and just feel that locker room bond, even though we weren't in the same room. Because everybody has been, I guess, so isolated and quarantined and all that, like we were all just so elated to be able just to open up to each other, right? Like, I mean, guys going back and forth, the stuff that you miss in the locker room, like we probably couldn't have done that as authentically and freely if everything was live.
The week also entailed a career panel hosted by former defensive lineman Andre Fluellen, where former players discussed how to find success after the game.
Too often as players, we always think that, you know, after I'm done playing or after like 3 years out the league, I'm not relevant. And when you talk to, Bubba, he's been out in the league for 30 years now, and he's still just as relevant, or even in the business world, even more relevant than he was when he was playing. And so I think that's what a lot of guys took out of that is just, no, wait, hold on. I'm still relevant. No matter what, I still play in the NFL, and that is still valuable.
They closed out the week with a lively Lions trivia night between Lions legends and their families.
And what well-known song by Queen was the unofficial Lions theme song when the team started in '80 with 4 wins?
I know that one. If I don't get this one right, I'm going to quit.
While they certainly missed being together in Detroit, the virtual celebration still made for a great time.
The Lions have done a really, really good job of making all former players feel involved. It really meant a lot for me, just for all of us to, for the Lions to embrace all of us again, to bring us all back together.
So great to see those Lions legends on the screen once again. We'd like to thank Kroger for being the presenting partner of the Detroit Lions pregame show today. Fans, a reminder to make sure to tune into Fox 2 each Sunday at 10 a.m. for Lions Game Day Live, and turn on Fox 2 tonight at 11 p.m. to watch Sportsworks and Lions Game Night for a complete recap and interviews from this afternoon's game. If you're watching the game from the Detroit Lions broadcast region, make sure you tune in your local CBS station to catch today's game, which kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan wants to make sure your child is ready for the game with My Kids Can Turkey Day VIP sweepstakes. Visit DetroitLions.com/Turkey Day VIP to enter your child for a chance to win a custom Detroit Lions jersey, an autographed replica Detroit Lions game ball, a Detroit Lions prize pack, and a $1,000 grocery gift card for Thanksgiving dinner. Fans, we want to see your game face today. You have the chance to be featured on today's show by posting using the hashtag DTEGameface and showing us your game day energy. Don't miss out on your opportunity to be a part of the Lions game day experience. Post now with hashtag DTEGameface.
I vote personally because I believe that the beautiful thing about the United States of America is our freedoms and our rights, and one of those rights is the freedom to vote and to exercise your right to vote. So it's the beautiful thing of a democracy, and I feel like it's my right as a citizen.
I vote because your voice really matters and every vote counts. And if you want to be heard, you got to use that ability that you have.
The reason why I vote is because I think it's one of our great rights as an American to take part in our government and our country and have a say in what actually goes on around us.
This will be my first time voting, so I want to make sure that I do my part.
In the past, I hadn't necessarily, educated myself or taken the time to learn about, issues or people on the ballot to vote for. But obviously, there's been a lot of growth and learning about that as a team and as an individual for me, and I've been able to see the importance of it. I've been able to see the importance of using your voice as part of our, democracy, as a state and as a country for positive change, because we all do want to see positive change. And I think we need it now more than ever.
Myself, as an African American, we haven't always had that right, and I want to make sure that I utilize all the tools that I have now to make sure that my voice is heard. Because that's what my ancestors and the people who were before them, my family who were before them, that's what they fought for.
There's many ways that you can vote. You can vote online, you can go in person.
I want to make sure that I take my time, do my research, and make an educated decision on what I want for my future for the next 4 years.
What are things that I'm concerned about? What are things that my teammates are concerned about, or my friends and family? Just know your vote counts. You may feel like a small person in this world, but the beautiful thing about a democracy in this country is every single vote counts, and you can make an impact in your state and your country. Visit michigan.gov/vote to check your voter status, register to vote, or see a sample ballot to do your research.
I will vote.
I will vote.
I will vote. I will use my voice.
I will use my voice.
I will use my voice.
Will you?
Will you?
As a part of the NFL's Fuel Up to Play 60 initiative, we partnered with the United Dairy Industry of Michigan and Kroger to provide students at Downtown Boxing Gym in Detroit with an opportunity to learn about healthy eating and nutrition habits.
Let me tell you the look on those students' faces. It truly is life-changing knowing that we were able to do such a simple thing and give them bags of food, and the impact it made on them is truly unforgettable. We couldn't reach these students that are in need in these underdeserved areas if we didn't have partnerships like the Detroit Lions. So we are so excited to be able to give these basic necessities to these children while they're also learning healthy recipes with UDIM's nutritionists on staff.
The Detroit Lions are committed to removing barriers for underserved youth in our communities. Many children in Detroit lack access to educational resources like the ones we're able to provide in partnership with the United Dairy Industry of Michigan and Kroger through our Dining from the Den programming.
Lots of good causes the Lions are supporting. Good to see them finding ways to still get out in the community in the times that we are in. Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Kroger. I'm Tori Petry, and now joining me on set is DetroitLions.com's Tim Twentyman. Tim, the players are starting to hit the field. It's a little crazy to have people on the field behind us again. It's been a while.
It's been a little while since we've been here at Ford Field, so it's good to be home. You know, the short drive in, and it's good.
It definitely is. Well, the specialists are out on the field. Should be seeing the quarterbacks here in just a little bit. But Tim, let's dive into talking about this Lions offense today, because they have a huge challenge ahead of them in this Colts defense. Who on this Lions offense is going to be key for the Lions to be able to defeat the Colts today?
Well, it obviously starts with the quarterback, number 9, as it does every week, no matter the opponent. And I think you look at Matthew, the 62.3% completion percentage, you like that. The 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns and the 4 interceptions. The 4 interceptions is low, and I like that after 6 games. And he didn't throw one last week. And then you obviously saw what he did at the end of that game, navigating them, down the field in a minute 4, winning that football game. And I think it just gives this team a ton of confidence in their quarterback and his ability that no matter the score, no matter the situation, if they're down, that number 9 is going to be able to bring them back. He's done it 30 times now over his career. And so that was a big game for him last week. But and he's got a tough task this week because this is an Indianapolis Colts team that leads the NFL with 10 interceptions. So they're very opportunistic if you give them a chance. And look, you just look at the numbers. I think they're 4th in points allowed, 2nd in total defense, 2nd against the pass, 3rd against the run. Now, some of those opponents have been weaker offenses to begin the year, but I think that you still have to give them a lot of credit for how good they are defensively. And this is going to be a tough test. Number 9's got to take care of the football and just do a good job. This is a Colts defense that plays a lot of zone, so I think there's going to be some opportunities there to kind of find the gaps and use the middle of the field. And so we'll see how good he is at navigating all that today.
It was definitely exciting to see Matthew Stafford get back to form there in the final minute of that game against the Falcons. TJ Lang called it on the post-game show last week. Vintage Matthew Stafford. Obviously, he missed half of the season last year because of that back injury. Struggled a little bit to start the season, but I felt like we really started to see him get back in a groove against the Falcons. Would you say that that's the case?
Yeah, I would, and I think it's really been since Kenny's been back too. I think beginning of the year you miss Kenny Galladay and that big threat down the field. Obviously that changes everything a defense has to do coverage-wise when he's not on the field, and you look at the numbers right there. 20 receptions, 338 yards. That average, Tori, 16.9. That's 3rd best among all receivers in the NFL. That's the big play threat. That's the guy that gets it down the field. And, the interesting thing about him is we talked to Colts head coach Frank Reich this week, and he said, Kenny's one of those guys that when you're a quarterback, you look over to that side of the field, right? And you say, I don't think he's covered, and I don't think he's ever going to be covered, And you saw that last week with Matthew. Kenny, you look at some of the metrics around the league, Kenny doesn't separate from defenders at a high rate compared to some other receivers, but what he does is he goes up and makes difficult catches. He wins those 50-50 balls. And so I think when you're Matthew Stafford and you come to the line of scrimmage and you look left, and you always have to think, hey, if Kenny's in a one-on-one situation, I'm probably going to go there no matter what. And even if he's covered, I've got an opportunity to throw the football up down the field if no one else is open, and he's going to make a play for me. And so, having a guy like that, I think is just there's a comfort zone as a quarterback, knowing there's always a bailout. And to me, Kenny's your bailout. When things aren't right, you can toss the football up to him, and he'll make a play for you. And we saw that last week in Atlanta.
Well, it's kind of like what T.J. Hawkinson said after the game. With those 50-50 balls, when Kenny Galladay's catching them, it's closer to 100%. Tim, people pay attention to fantasy football. They want to know who they should start, who is going to have a big game. What are your thoughts on Kenny Galladay today against a very tough Colts defense? Do you think he's a guy who's going to get a lot of yards for the Lions?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I watched some of the tape on the Colts this week, and one of the things that jumped out to me was that you don't see guys down the field wide open. You don't see guys breaking open. And so, you know, I think you've got to be real patient against this defense because they don't break down in coverage a lot. And so guys like Danny Amendola, who you see right there, returning a punt, I think TJ Hawkinson, guys like that who can maybe find the soft spots in zone coverage, that 15-yard, you know, on the hashes type guys. Now, I think you're still going to throw it up to Kenny. He's going to make some plays. But I think this might be actually like a Marvin Jones Jr. and a Danny Amendola type game because you know you're going to get coverage over to Kenny. This is a Indianapolis Colts team that has not allowed a touchdown to a tight end this year. And so they're good in that regard. They've got some safeties and some linebackers that can cover. So DeAndre Swift out of the backfield in a good matchup. Danny Amendola against the nickel corner, and then Marv against the second corner. Those are the three guys I think if you're fantasy-wise and you're looking for a flex or something like that, maybe that's one of those guys you slot in there.
I like it. Good advice there. Well, we saw a couple clips of DeAndre Swift as he is getting ready to warm up. Tim, this has been the question that's been in my mentions the most on Twitter. DeAndre Swift, Adrian Peterson, who's going to be the one getting the carries today? What do you say, Tim?
Well, I think it's going to start out like it normally does. You know, I think Adrian Peterson, is going to get some early carries, and then Swift's going to get some early carries, and they're going to see the hot hand. But I think as we continue to move on, and I think we saw a little bit last week, and over the last 2 weeks, I think the number was 26 carries for Adrian Peterson the last 2 weeks, 23 for DeAndre Swift. So he's inching up there, and I think it's just he's now got some games under his belt, right? He had the bye week, the game's slowing down for him a little bit, and he's your big play guy. Now, they still want to get Adrian Peterson involved, and you look at the numbers there, and he's your tough downhill guy. And then you bring Swift in, and he's your change of pace, your big play type back. They obviously use him a ton in the passing game, and so I think we're going to see DeAndre Swift's touches increase. The more plays he makes, it's just going to be so hard to get this guy off the field. And now I think Adrian Peterson's still going to play a role. He's your early down guy. They're never going to abandon the running back by committee approach. That's just not Matt Patricia's style. That's not Bevel's style. That's not how they want to do this. And so, but you will see, I think, more of an even distribution. And I think there'll be some weeks where DeAndre Swift has more. If the kid keeps continuing to make plays, it's just really hard to take him off the field, Tori.
Well, one really cool thing from Adrian Peterson is that his foundation is donating 1,000 meals to families in need for every Lions touchdown today, and 2,000 if he's the one who scores the touchdown. So that's a pretty big deal, and he's been pretty good for at least a touchdown a game so far this season.
That's certainly something to root for to get him into the end zone. And look, you know, I think he's still that guy on the goal line, right?
Yeah.
He's your power back, your downhill guy, your tough runner, and so I think he's going to have plenty of those opportunities to get some meals out in Detroit, and hopefully everybody's rooting for that, certainly.
Well, you mentioned that you like DeAndre Swift's matchup today. What is it about his matchup that favors him?
Well, this is a Colts team that has some good linebackers that can run. They cover really, really well. But I think just with everything else that the Colts have to worry about in stopping, I think what you do is you take your number one linebacker, your number one covered linebacker guy, and I think that's probably your TJ Hawkinson guy. And so now when you've got a running back that can make plays out of the backfield in the passing game and a dynamic tight end, I think that puts a lot of pressure because you don't want to bring that safety down on the tight end because now you've got Kenny on the outside. Now you're leaving one-on-one. That's certainly not a recipe for success either. And so, you know, I think that's when they talk about the Lions having, you know, a bunch of dynamic weapons. That puts just so much pressure on the defense. And so that's why I like that Swift matchup is because I think he's going to get, you know, probably that second linebacker or not their number one type cover guy in the back seven. And so I think there's going to be some opportunities that he gets one-on-one. And we know if he just makes one guy miss, he's gone. And so that's why I like that matchup because I think they're going to focus on Kenny and I think they're going to focus on TJ. They're going to try to take those two guys away, opens it up for everybody else.
So what you're telling me is this might be the first game this season where you're not picking TJ Hawkinson to have big numbers today.
Okay, well, Honestly, he's starting in both my fantasy leagues, all right? Because I just can't get away from Teach, right? I've been on this train the whole time.
Have.
So I'm riding it till the end, you know? But, you know, he could sneak one in, I think, down the goal line. But like I said, I think I looked at the statistics this week. In 6 games, the Colts have allowed, I think, 134 total yards of receiving to the tight end position, 0 touchdowns. So Hawk's got his work cut out for him today, but you know you could trick him up in the red zone, and obviously Hawk's a dynamic player. He gets you a big one.
Well, the good news for number 9 is that he's got plenty of options out there on that offense. Another piece of good news, he will have his starting left tackle out there protecting him today. Taylor Decker is in fact active after being questionable heading into this game. Tim, what kind of an advantage is that for this Lions offense?
Well, it's a huge advantage because you look at it right there on the screen. That's your 5 guys, right? Those are your 5 guys that you want on the field. Those are the guys that you've established are your top 5 offensive linemen. And when you're facing a defensive front with Justin Houston and Buckner and some of the talent that the Colts have, look, you need your top 5 guys. And you just look at Decker individually this year. I mean, I think this is one of his better seasons. You look at the offensive snaps. Boom, he never comes out, right? The best ability is availability, right? And he's always there. 0 sacks allowed, Tori, and that's a left tackle. That's going against some defenses in Green Bay, right? And the Smith brothers and Khalil Mack, right? In Arizona and Campbell. And just the 4 hits allowed. He's just been really, really solid. He's the 13th highest graded tackle by Pro Football Focus, and that's not just left tackles. That's all tackles. So he's having a dynamic season, and look, he protects that guy's backside, and that's pretty important, and to have him is a big deal today for the Detroit Lions.
Good stuff, Tim. Thanks so much for chatting offense with us. We've got a little bit to talk more still about the defense, but we will get to that just after this quick break. Don't go away.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on food that's fresher than fresh? With the Kroger app, you can get personalized coupons on top of weekly sales and rewards like fuel points, all for prices that are lower than the everyday low. So go ahead, get lower than low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
These past few months have been trying, but despite the setbacks, uncertainty, and challenges, one thing is certain: Michigan will recover. And Comerica is here to help our communities rise. Through our COVID-19 relief program, Comerica has donated millions to COVID-19 testing, personal protection equipment, crucial supplies, food banks, and small businesses. And we're just getting started. To learn more, visit Comerica.com/rise.
We've talked about the offense here on the pregame show presented by Kroger. Now it is time to talk about that defense that will be holding down the other side of the ball from Matthew Stafford. We've got Tim Twentyman here on set to chat about that with us. Tim, who would you say the key players are today against that Colts offense led by Phillip Rivers?
Ooh, there's going to be a few, but I'm going to start with that front 7 because I think you look at the last 2 weeks, what have they done really well, Tori, defensively?
They've been able to stop the run.
They've been able to stop the run, right? And that's the key, and that I think has been the key to the last 2 weeks. I think that's why you've seen them average about 18 pressures the last 2 games, is because they've been able to stop the run. 44 yards in Jacksonville, 66 yards with Atlanta last week. Now you're talking about putting teams in difficult down and distance situations, right? You dictate the play calls, right? Now you can pin your ears back and pressure the quarterback a little bit. And look, Phillip Rivers, like we talked about with Matt Ryan last week, this isn't a guy that's going to make plays, out of the pocket with his legs, right? He's a pocket passer, and so look, you stop Jonathan Taylor with that front 4 and really the front 7. Now you put yourself into good situations where you make the Colts be one-dimensional, kind of like they did with Atlanta, like they did with Jacksonville. Now you've got some opportunities to make plays, strip sacks, interceptions, some of those things that we've been seeing the last couple weeks, all because you stopped the run. So to me, it really starts with those guys up front, that front 7. They've got to be really good against Jonathan Taylor in the run game this week.
Well, you noted that Deshaun Hand was going to be one of those guys that we need to talk about this morning. Why is that?
It's a guy that we haven't talked about a ton, and you look at the numbers there, and they don't jump out of the screen, right? But I thought last week, and really the last 2 weeks, he's been a factor there, especially on the interior, being able to ward off blocks and make plays in the hole and just be one of those guys that's contributed to the overall good play up front, right? It can't just be Romeo Okwara. It can't just be Trey Flowers. I think Danny Shelton, Deshaun Hand, Nick Williams, and John Pinacini, who we've seen come on. I think those 4 guys really have to handle the interior. That's what's really going to bottle up that run game and allow the guys on the edge, Okwara and Flowers, and next week Everson Griffin, to get after the quarterback. But it all starts with those guys on the interior. And I think Deshaun Hand's a guy we haven't talked about a lot, but I think he's shown up the last 2 weeks, and I think the Lions certainly hope that he continues to play as well as he has the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Danny Shelton's come on a little bit more, and the rookie John Pinacini has really been a key part of the interior of that defensive line as well. I've been impressed with how much more he's been playing and how effective he's been.
Yeah, and their ability to use him, at the zero technique or the nose tackle, I think has allowed Danny Shelton to go out to the 3-tech at defensive tackle. And it's allowed Nick Williams, and it's allowed them some versatility with their front to move guys around. And I think that's really been a big piece of why they've been successful against the run. Danny Shelton's a big guy. He's tough to move. And when you can take him off that nose and put him in, the B gap, and you just say, hey, stuff it right here, and you've got a guy who can handle the center in John Pinacini, who's got good leverage, he's got good technique for a rookie, and he's shown that the last couple weeks. I think his emergence has really allowed them to mix that personnel grouping up front, and I think it's been a big factor in why they've been better against the run.
I like that, Tim. Let's talk about this secondary. No Desmond Trufant yet again today, but how have you seen Jeff Okudah progress as this season has gone on and he's had to get in there and be thrown into the fire?
Yeah, thrown into the fire is certainly right, and you just look at some of the receivers he's gone against early on, right?
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, right? DeAndre Hopkins.
Like a Pro Bowl roster he's had to go against.
Julio Jones. And you look at the numbers there, and he got the interceptions, but the number opponent touchdowns allowed. That's the key there, Tori, right? So, you allow some plays, right? Rookies are going to allow plays, and corners are going to allow plays. These wide receivers in this league are too good, right? You're never going to completely shut somebody down. But don't give up the big ones, right? The important ones, the touchdowns. And you're seeing him there, and you've seen him get better every single week. One of the things he talked about this week was being better with his eye discipline. And I think one of the biggest differences between the college game and the pro game is just how good these receivers are in some of the little subtle things they do, right? Some of the route running stuff, some they do at the top of their route, some of the head shifts, and the eyes go with that too. And he was talking about a play where Hopkins kind of used his eyes to fool him like the ball was coming and made him turn his head, and that allowed for a little bit of separation. So it's learning some of those little nuances of the position that you don't even really think about but are important in the grand scheme of things. And so I like that the rookie, he's got all the physical tools, right? And he's got the mental makeup, but now it's starting to get those little nuances and get that eye discipline and some of those other things that's going to lead to him not only preventing big plays, but making some big plays himself, Tori.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly in week 8, he has grown so much since we first saw him at the beginning of the year, but he's also got Amani Oruwariye on the opposite side of that defense helping him out, and he has played so strong this year. We haven't talked about him much, but that's because nobody's really throwing on him too much, and he hasn't really allowed too much either.
He's been good. That's a great find by Bob Quinn. At least it's turning out to be that way, because this kid, I'll tell you what, when you watch the tape of him, he is just so fundamentally sound. He's big, he's physical, and he's fast. He's got everything, and I think he really took advantage of that year last year, especially the end of the year, to get in and play some meaningful reps. And we talk about it with Jeff Okudah, right? He's been so much better from week 1 to week 8, right? Well, Amani Oruwariye was given that opportunity last year, and he's just transferred that right into this season. Look, he's in his second year. He's comfortable. The game's slow. He's got all the physical tools, and he seems like he's going to be a good one. And so I think if you're a Lions fan and you're looking at this Detroit Lions defense with Jeff Okudah and Amani Oruwariye, a guy in his second year and a guy in his first year, you got to be pretty excited about the outside cornerback position for a lot of years with this team, with those two guys and the way they played this year. Like Okudah, that guy right there, 0 touchdowns allowed. And so you've got 0 touchdowns allowed by your two young outside corners almost halfway into the season. That's pretty impressive.
It really is. It truly is. One last thing I want to touch on before we move on from defense is the linebacker position. Reggie Ragland talked with the media this week, and he said the reason why the Lions are playing better is because everybody's just doing their dang job. He was
I don't think he used dang.
Yeah, he said
that was good by
used
you.
a little bit more colorful wording than that, but he said that they were doing their job and that's why they have improved. What have you liked about Reggie this season, Tim?
Well, I think his versatility, right? You can throw him on the edge in that jack linebacker spot, right? And he's been productive as a pass rusher, right? He's been making plays in coverage on guys, and then he's been stout against the run the last 2 weeks. You look at the 16 tackles, like the sack that I talked about, playing that jack spot. So he can do a lot of different things. And so I think, like we talked about with John Pinacini, and how that allows you to kind of move some guys around, play some different roles, do some things. His ability to do that, now you can get creative with Jamie Collins Sr. and Jelani Tavai and let them do what they do best. And so I think he's been really good. And look, this is a guy that knows what winning football looks like, right? He's got one of those things on his ring, Super Bowl ring, right, from being with Kansas City. So he knows what it looks like. And I thought that was an important statement by him. And I think the Lions have been better about doing their job. There's a trust level that comes. There's a lot of new pieces on this team, right? They didn't have the preseason to work some of the kinks out. Didn't have, a long training camp. Didn't have the spring, and so you've got to learn to trust the guy next to you, right? And sometimes when you don't quite trust that guy or know him yet, you think maybe I've got to cover for that guy too. And so that's what Ragland's point was. No, just everyone do your own job and do your job to the best of your ability. Don't try to cover for somebody else. That's when mistakes happen. So he says the last 2 weeks when he's looked at the film, everybody's just done their job, and that allows you to play fast, be physical, and that's what this Lions defense has done the last 2 weeks, and they've played better because of it.
Well, we like what Reggie Ragland's been doing on the field. Also like hearing from him in those press conferences. He's pretty
great.
entertaining.
He's good. Yeah, he's a good one. He's one of those ones you request every week just to see if he says something good.
Good stuff on the defense, Tim. We
Sure
appreciate you joining us here on the pregame show. Guys, we still have a lot more to talk about. One of those things is our Comerica Bank Small Business Program. For 5 years in a row now, the Lions have partnered with Comerica Bank to help highlight Michigan-based small businesses. Last week, we got a chance to visit and learn more about one of those businesses, McMahon Helicopters. It was a pretty good time. Take a look. Comerica Bank Small Business of the Game has landed us here at McMahon Helicopters. We're going to get to know how Comerica Bank has helped this family business take flight.
So we've been here for 40 years here in Canton, Michigan. The company was founded by my late father, Brian McMahon, and we specialize in really 3 key areas of charter, which is the automotive, energy, and entertainment businesses. Every day is different. We can literally get a call here in 2 minutes and be out the door and have to fly to Chicago for an automotive manufacturer. We might get a call to quote a film production this weekend, so it changes day to day, and it's very, very fast-paced.
And then you said you work in the entertainment industry as well. What does that look like?
Just like what we're doing today, we film productions for feature films, television shows, corporate events, live TV like the Detroit Lions, and any other aerial needs.
How have things changed for you since your father first founded the business?
The aviation industry is changing rapidly. I would say the last 20 years have brought all kinds of changes for us as a business. We've seen customers come and go. We've seen a lot of entertainment things that we used to do for charter, for passenger charter and things go away. We've also seen growth in automotive for the delivery services, and then the aircraft are changing. So the technology is changing. Someday there won't be pilots in the aircraft, so we're looking at that. What does that bring in the future? So a lot of changes.
How has Comerica Bank supported your growth over the years?
So about 6.5 years ago, we met with Comerica Bank. My late father had just passed away. Our banks that we had good relationships with basically said, hey, call us when the dust settles. And Comerica came in, they said, we believe in you, we believe in your business, and we'll refinance your aircraft and keep you going. And they were a key component of our turnaround.
How much has it meant to you to have them on your side, especially as a family business as you were taking over for your father?
They're a key partner. They're helping us expand, and we're working on some new developments right now as we speak. So they've been an integral part of our whole operation for at least for the last 6.5 years.
and you guys were selected as the Comerica Bank Small Business of the Game for the Lions game this weekend. What does that mean to you guys to have that spotlight?
Anytime you can sound the alarm and get your name out there in the media and for advertising purposes, it's helpful. So we greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Nick, thank you so much for having us out here. We really appreciate it, and we love what you guys are doing.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Didn't get to go up in the air at that time, but hopefully sometime soon we can visit McMahon Helicopters for that helicopter ride. Thank you again to our friends at Comerica Bank for helping us honor McMahon Helicopters. To learn more about the small business program, head to DetroitLions.com. Guys, we are back with more in the pregame show from here at Ford Field as the Lions get set to take on the Colts at 1 p.m. today. We had Tim Twentyman break down the Lions for you. Now we've got Mike O'Hara on set to help break down the Colts for us. Mike, we've got a lot to talk about, and I think it really starts with this Colts defense. They're really good.
Oh, absolutely. I might have to help you read my notes because my glasses keep fogging up. What's going on here? No, absolutely. I made a note to myself about the defense and breaking it down. Then I just wrote entire defense.
Where do you start? They're good at every level.
We'll start where Matthew Stafford left off, and we talked to him last Wednesday in midweek, his Zoom interview, and he just went through the whole thing. And I wasn't sure if he was talking about the 1985 Chicago Bears or the 78 Detroit Lions Silver Rush or the old Pittsburgh Steelers or whatever, but really strength from front to back, and it really starts like every defense does that's any good. Starts up front with guys like Justin Houston and DeForest Buckner, and then the linebackers he talked about. First of all, the guys up front, how they can get sacks and get to the quarterback, and then the second line is the linebackers, how they can run. They can run and cover, and that's a tremendous combination. And the secondary, they don't let you get deep. They don't let you get behind you. And they got, like they added a cornerback this year in Xavier Rhodes. How many times did we see him with the Minnesota Vikings? And he leads that team now with 2 interceptions. Now that's not a lot, but it just shows how they play. It really is. It's a good, solid defense. Now, having said all that, they've made their stats. Like they're in the top 3 against the run, top 3 against the pass, top 3 overall. But they haven't played. They played some of the lesser lights of the National Football League too, the Jets, the Vikings, and so on. But that's not the Detroit Lions. They're not playing the Jets. They're playing the Colts against the Lions and crack that defense. If you can do that, you can make this a fairly easy game for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, the Lions certainly have a challenge ahead of them in taking on this Colts defense. But I talked about this on WJR radio this morning. The good thing for the Lions is that although the defense is the strength for the Colts, the Lions' strength is their offense. So at least their strength is going up against strength today. Well,
strength against strength, I agree with that, Terry. And we've seen what Matthew Stafford does late in games. And we've got a column, our final thoughts column in DetroitNews.com is not does he just lead drives at the end of the game, but he leaves drives at the end of the half.
Yeah.
And points add up. You don't take them off the board and start over in the second half. Go back to last week's game, a drive to a field goal on the last play against the Falcons. Those 3 points proved vital at the end of that game. Did it the week before against the Jaguars, a touchdown at the end of the half. Sort of smoothed the way the rest of the way, and the win over the Cardinals. Touchdown at the end of the half, field goal at the end of the game. So when Matthew Stafford has the ball in his hands, good things can and usually do happen.
Absolutely. You guys are looking at the quarterback comparison now between these two quarterbacks. Very similar numbers in terms of yards, completion percentage, quarterback rating. But take a look at that touchdown interception ratio. 10 touchdowns for Matthew Stafford, only 4 interceptions. Whereas Phillip Rivers has 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He's at the helm of that Colts offense. Mike, we talked about it on our podcast, the one podcast presented by MGM Grand Detroit earlier this week. It's still a little odd for me to see Phillip Rivers in a Colts uniform, but he certainly has struggled a little bit with those interceptions this year. Why do you think that has been?
Well, it's not exactly like Peyton Manning leaving the Colts for the Denver Broncos, but I get exactly what you're saying. Look, Phillip Rivers has been a really, really good quarterback for 16 seasons in the National Football League with the Chargers, first in San Diego, and then when they moved to Los Angeles. But he's been sort of in that second tier. Like he came into the league in the 2004 draft with Ben Roethlisberger with 2 Super Bowls, with Eli Manning 2 Super Bowls. He's below that category. This is just my opinion. And one of the things that has plagued him throughout his career is interceptions. You go to years when he's had like 24 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. Now that's an anomaly, but it's on his record, and it's the same thing this year. He had 3 of those touchdowns in the last game and 1 interception. So it sort of made it look a little better than it is. I just think that we saw him last year playing for the Chargers, trying to bring them from behind in a 13-10 loss. How did it end? Interception by Darius Slay, no longer with the Lions, on a pass meant for, I think it was Keegan Allen, where actually Darius ran the route, intercepted the ball in that corner of the end zone over there.
Yeah.
And that was Phillip Rivers. That's been his career. Yeah. Make him do it. He's never been the most mobile quarterback. Get after him, make him throw off his back foot, and I think you can handle him pretty easily. Or I shouldn't say easily, but pretty successfully.
All right, so the key for this Lions defense is to be able to get after Phillip Rivers, but he's also got a run game that you've got to worry about. Rookie running back Jonathan Taylor has been doing some big things for that Colts offense. Look at the numbers, 89 attempts for 367 yards, but he's also got some receiving yards in there as well, and 3 touchdowns to his name. What kind of threat is Jonathan Taylor for that Colts offense?
Well, I'm going to get my spectacles defogged long enough to read my notes, if that's okay with you. No, this was, as you probably know, when we were at the Combine earlier this year, this was one of my favorite players. He was my favorite running back. Not the one I would have taken first, but I just liked him. I admired what he did at Wisconsin. 300-plus carries a year. Never complained, just carried the load all the way. And you can see what they were with him and what Wisconsin so far in the Big Ten season is without him. But this kid really was a punishing runner with speed. And I think he brings a little bit of that to the National Football League. Now, there's a transition. But one thing about him, and this is another thing I like about him, when he was asked about the problem he had at Wisconsin with fumbles, he had 18 in 3 years, 6 as a senior year. He said, I know that's something I've got to improve. Well, you look at those touches he's had, 90-some touches and no fumbles. I don't mean just no fumbles lost, no fumbles, period. Here's a kid who takes his business very, very seriously. I don't think he can win a game for you, but he can certainly make life miserable for you. He's a player that Detroit Lions have to watch today.
Well, as Tim pointed out earlier when he was talking about this Lions offense with us, this Lions defense, he said that is something that the Lions defense has been doing well. They've been able to stop the run these last couple weeks coming out of the bye, and if they can continue that, I think they can have some success against the Colts today.
Absolutely, and this is from memory. I don't have it written here, but I can't read it anyway. But they went into the bye with an average 170.2 yards allowed rushing per game. They gave up 44 yards to Jacksonville in the first game after the bye, and 60-something last week to the Atlanta Falcons. 10 of those on that ill-fated touchdown run by Todd Gurley. So they've been, and that's a big-time back still, Todd Gurley. So I'd say they're doing pretty well, and I fully expect them to really handle their running game today.
Yeah, we'll see what the Lions are able to do against that Colts run game. Tim and I talked about this as well. The Lions have Taylor Decker out there at left tackle, and that is going to be big for them because of this defensive line that they are facing today. Mike, you talked about how this whole Colts defense is important, but it certainly is made even more important by Justin Houston and DeForest Buckner up front.
Yeah, glad you brought them up. Look, I love pass rushers. You can talk about all the rest of the stuff. And a middle linebacker, give me those 3, and you can have the rest of the team. But look, they picked up a couple of guys in the last 2 years. Last year it was Justin Houston. One of those years he led the National Football League in sacks. Hasn't been quite as prolific. He's got 3 sacks this year so far in 6 games, and he's got 6 quarterback hits. DeForest Buckner, came over from San Francisco, and he is just an enormous guy. You were there when the head coach Matt Patricia was talking about him, the length of his arms and how he can use his physical advantages to really control the up front. Well, take a look. He's got 2.5 sacks. Doesn't sound like a lot, but already in 6 games he's got 13 quarterback hits. But he's really been an effective player up front. I think more than anybody, that's the guy you've got to look at.
Yeah, definitely going to be important for the Lions to stop those 2 guys on that Colts defensive line. Guys, we've got more to talk about when we get to the keys to the game. We'll be back with that in just a minute.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on food that's fresher than fresh? With the Kroger app, you can get personalized coupons on top of weekly sales and rewards like fuel points, all for prices that are lower than the everyday low. So go ahead, get lower than low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
DTE Energy customers can get their share of huge lifetime energy cost savings. How? By using our website. The Osling's new programmable thermostat saved them a bundle. And their new efficient furnace earned them a hefty rebate. All over Michigan, people like the Oslings are saving. Why not you? There are always new ways to save at dteenergy.com/saveenergy. DTE Energy.
Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Kroger. I'm Tori Petry here on set with Mike O'Hara. We've been breaking down what the Colts bring to the table, Mike. For me, the Lions head into this Week 8 game with a lot to prove. They've won their last 2 games to get to 500 coming out of their bye week, but those were against teams that were struggling, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, against the Atlanta Falcons. For me, if they can get a win over the Colts, I think that tells us a lot about this Lions team.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's going to define their entire season, but it'll define the moment. And that's one of my keys to the game. In other words, the Detroit Lions just stay in the moment, win the play, win the series, win the half, win the quarter, and win the game. Don't get ahead of yourself in what this means. Look, we've been here before. This was, sort of deja vu. They were 3-3 2 years ago. Never got over the hump. They were 3-3-1 last year. Never got over the hump. And I'm sort of, by looking back, I'm sort of talking against what I just said. But that's just for a point. Don't get caught up into all that stuff. Just play it, play by play, and things will take care of themselves. I think the Detroit Lions are the better team. I think they got the better offense by a wide margin, better quarterback by a wide margin. Use that, plus what they've got, the renewed strength on defense, and things will take care of themselves. I like the Lions to win today.
Okay, one of the things they need to do in order to win is to be able to overcome that Colts defense, and that's another one of your keys.
Well, that's another one, and I think if you crack that, look, I think the Lions have enough assets across the board. Look, the offensive line has been playing well. They picked up their running game. DeAndre Swift, I think, is really a multi-talented kid who can help him in a lot. You can help him running the ball. You can help him as a receiver. I just think there's too much on the Lions side of it offensively for the Colts to deal with. That's why I like them. I think Lions more for their offense than I do for their defense, but I think their defense is good enough, and it's getting better as we go. Justin Coleman coming back, I think, it might not seem like a big deal, but getting your slot cornerback is huge in the National Football League.
Absolutely. One more element at play here today is not necessarily on the field, but in the stands. The Lions have 500 friends and family here attending this game. Players, wives, girlfriends, kids who are able to come and watch this game. Gives a little bit of a different atmosphere to Ford Field this week.
Well, not only that, but when you think back, Tori, anybody who ever played sports in your life, and I asked Lomas Brown about this too, even when he played JV football back as a kid. What did he love when his mom and dad came to the game? And these guys, look, right here in this heart, there's a little kid in every one of these guys on both sides of the field. Just knowing that your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, your twin brother, whatever is up there, I think it's a little bit inspiring. Now, it's not the same as coming out of the tunnel with 60,000 cheering, but that's different. I'm talking about the heart. I think it's a slight advantage for the Lions. It doesn't win the game, but it certainly doesn't hurt it.
It certainly doesn't. The Lions will certainly be thankful to have fans in the stands today. And Mike, we thank you for joining us on the pregame show.
Thank you. By the way, my pick was 24-16.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. We'll see if the Lions are able to pull that out. Thank you so much, Mike. Another person we've got to thank today is our teachers. They deserve our thanks more than ever during this difficult season. We've partnered with Campbell's Chunky to honor Michigan teachers and thank them for their dedication to students. Last week we had the chance to talk with our champion of the game, Josh Lopez, and hear about his teaching experience. Take a look. Our champion of the game this week, presented by Campbell's Chunky, is Josh Lopez. Mr. Lopez, thank you so much for joining us here, and congratulations on being our champion of the game.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited.
Well, help us get to know you and your teaching career. How did you get started in teaching?
First of all, I went to University of Miami, Florida. I started teaching down there. I came up to Michigan, taught middle school for a couple of years. And then the last 3 years, I've been at Renaissance High School in Detroit, where I teach the Senate. I'm the athletic director there, actually. And for the past 10 years, I've ran a study abroad program. I've taken over 1,500 students from the city of Detroit to different places within the world. Just really excited to allow my students to have those opportunities.
That is so awesome, and something that you don't often see in high school is studying abroad. How much does it mean to you to be able to enrich your kids' lives in that way?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, not only does it allow them to grow as a student, but it also allows them to grow internationally. Just opening these students up to new things is just so wonderful.
Well, it's clearly resonating with them because 9 of your students nominated you for this award. What does it mean to you to have so many of them speak out on your behalf about the job you're doing?
I can't even say it in words. It's just, it's overwhelming to me. And I'm just so proud of them, you know, because they really make me who I am as a teacher. So I can't really say it's what I do. It's what we do as a team and what we accomplish within my different classes that makes a difference.
What kind of impact do you hope that your teaching career leaves on the next generation?
Well, I just hope we have a lot of leaders in our world, within our community here in the city of Detroit. We're just seeing the future leaders and going back in 20 years and saying, you know, I had a part in what my students became in their lives.
Mr. Lopez, thank you so much for what you do as a teacher. We appreciate you, and we're so glad to have you as our Campbell's champion of the game.
Thank you very much.
We want to thank Josh again for his dedication to his students and wish them all a successful 2020 academic year. You can nominate your champion of the game today at DetroitLions.com/champion.
We'd also like to once again thank Kroger for being the presenting partner of today's Detroit Lions pregame show. Make sure you tune into the home of the Detroit Lions after the game on WJR AM 760, where you'll get all the latest info on the game, plus hear from Coach Patricia and many of your favorite players. That's the Lions postgame show on WJR AM 760, the radio home of the Detroit Lions. This season, there are even more ways to get into the game thanks to Lions Bingo presented by BetMGM. Lions fans can play along for free all season long for the chance to win great prizes, including the grand prize each week of a weekend stay at an MGM Resorts location. Just download the Lions mobile app and register to play Lions Bingo each and every week. Play along during the game, and once you hit bingo, you score, courtesy of our friends over at BetMGM. Learn more and lock in your Lions Bingo board before kickoff today by visiting the Lions mobile app right now. And all morning, fans have been submitting photos showing their game day energy using the hashtag DTEGameface. You can see fans from all over prepared for today's game thanks to all of our fans who are part of today's DTE Gameface.
Today. Well, it wouldn't be a pregame show if we didn't get to our fantasy picks for today, Anthony. We've got to dive into those picks. I want to know who you're taking at quarterback this week.
Okay, so we both try to pick like kind of outside the box. So I'm going to go Sunday Night Football because I saw who your pick was going to be. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz, Philly at Dallas. Dallas has been putrid against opposition quarterbacks. Big night for the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly tonight.
I know, we were trying to be a little bit more creative. Mahomes at the Jets was just too easy. That's going to be a bloodbath. I'm going with Tom Brady at the New York Giants, another team in New York that is struggling. I think he's going to have a big game today. Who are you taking at wide receiver?
She said it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm going to go wide receiver Devontae Adams, Green Bay, Minnesota. Awful against the Posey wide receivers, 29th in the league. Devontae Adams is going to be windy out there in Green Bay. He has a big day, though.
You know, I have loved watching Seattle this season. I'm going with DK Metcalf. That guy has been real good this year, and I think he's going to have another good day against the San Francisco 49ers. We got to pick a running back too, Anthony, and I think you're going to copy me this week.
I'm going to say let's get some action. My man Kareem Hunt out of the University of Toledo. They're taking on the Las Vegas Raiders today. Las Vegas is last against the running back position so far this season. Kareem the Dream, big game for him.
Yeah, that's who I picked last week. That's why I said you were going to take a cue from me. This week I'm going to go with a guy that I've also picked earlier this season, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Again, that Kansas City at Jets game, I think he's going to have a big game, and I could not resist picking him today. Of course, though, we've got to see who we should start on the Lions side of the ball. They've got a tough matchup today against that Colts defense, so maybe a little bit less scoring than we usually see from these Lions in fantasy today. But who are you taking, Anthony?
Tori, I'm actually going to go the complete opposite way and say it's going to be a huge day
Really?
for Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
I think the Colts 4-2 record's a little deceiving based on some of their opponents. Stafford and company keep the hot trend going on right now and put a whole bunch of points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, if Stafford's going to have a good day, you know who else is going to have a good day? It's Kenny Golladay. Kenny has been electric this season. We saw another big game from him last week week, and I think we see it again from him today. Anthony, thank you so much for hanging out with me on the pregame show and always getting our fantasy picks in. Maybe next week we'll revisit that and see how well we did. Let's take it now to our projected forward starting lineups for this game today and take a look at who's starting on offense for the Detroit Lions today. Taylor Decker will thankfully be out there for the Lions at left tackle. At left guard, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow at center, Halapoulivaati Vaitai at right guard, and then Tyrell Crosby at right tackle. Let's take it to the backs and receivers. Kenny Golladay at wide receiver, TJ Hawkinson at tight end, Adrian Peterson at running back, Danny Amendola at wide receiver, and Marvin Jones Jr. at wide receiver. And of course, you guys don't even need me to give you this one because you already know it's going to be Matthew Stafford there at the quarterback position. Guys, that wraps up everything we've got for you here on the pregame show. Make sure you tune into this game at 1 p.m. if you are in the Lions regional broadcast area. This game will be on CBS today, so make sure you tune in and hang out with us as we watch this Lions game, and then come right back here to hang out with us after the game for the post-game show presented by Kroger. Thanks, guys, so much, and enjoy the game.